My video for June the 28th, 2019 is video number 3130. The title is The Path of Least Resistance. John Dewey was an American philosopher and psychologist. He lived in the late 19th century, dying in 1952. He taught the philosophy of pragmatism. While I would likely reject a lot of what he taught, I resonate with this statement attributed to him. Quote, "The path of least resistance and least trouble is a mental rut already made. It requires troublesome work to undertake the situation of old beliefs, or the alteration, rather, of old beliefs. Self-conceit often regards it as a sign of weakness to admit that a belief to which we have once committed ourselves is wrong. We get so identified with an idea that it is literally a pet notion, and we rise to its defense and stop our eyes and ears to anything different." End quote. Is that what is promoted by the fake it till you make it crowd? I observe that many people do seem to me to be in a rut of some sort. In fact, humanity has most likely been in a rut for eons. Is the RV just another money scam? Will humanity ever be liberated? In money we trust, can we ever become free? Last night I attended another discussion group, and the idea of fake it till you make it came to the fore again as one of the participants, who is a psychologist, again said we have to fake it till we make it. And that discussion on that saying ensued. And it was interesting that it was perhaps, there were 10 people in the discussion, and it was perhaps evenly divided, or maybe it was 60% in the fake it till you make it crowd, and maybe 40% in the no, I'm not buying that. It's something that, as I've said in other videos, I've had a lot of trouble with. And using a quote by John Dewey, he's not someone that I would normally quote. However, the Information Clearinghouse sends quotations every day, and I liked that when I thought, well, that would be some good substance for a video. So what is this rut that we are in? Well, to me, the money trap itself is probably the biggest rut of all, that we need money to exist in this world. We've been sold that bill of goods, and we've been sold it for such a long time, generationally, that we can't even conceive of a world that doesn't require money to get what we need. And so we are, as a human family, as a human race, we are in a rut. And that rut seems to have, well, however it was created, it seems to still exist because there are what we might consider the money masters, the people that control the wealth of the world. They have an agenda. And the agenda has not been, as I've said again and again, not to love one another, not to build bridges, but to maintain walls of separation, whether physical or mental, that keep us alienated from one another. And they have infiltrated virtually all aspects of human culture, religion and education being two of them. But of course, politics is the big one, because that's the structure that we look to as leadership. And when our leadership is corrupted, how do we expect humanity to become free of the corruption? Well, one of the things that has been proposed is that there's going to be a currency revaluation that's going to remunerate people for the crimes that have been committed against them, crimes like stealing their land, and crimes like poisoning our children, us, because we are the children of someone, even if our parents are no longer on this planet, as mine are not. But we have been poisoned by drugs, we have been poisoned by information, we have been poisoned by our education system to not be able to think outside the box. And many of the people that are pushing a dark agenda want to stop people from thinking outside the box, want to prevent us from exploring other options and alternative viewpoints. They want to narrow the field of investigation as small as they can narrow it, so that we cannot even conceive of anything that would break us free from the machinations of what we call the elite establishment, which is, of course, the money masters, the people that have created the scam in the first place so long ago that we really can't put our finger on it on an actual date. It was perhaps and most likely millennia ago, multiple millennia ago. I don't know the answer to that, folks, and neither do you. And all we can do is speculate on how long ago it might have been, but it really doesn't matter when it started. We need to recognize that this is the situation we find ourselves in here in the 21st century. We're still there. And if we look back at recent centuries, we've been there for a long time. The American Revolution was an attempt to break free from the money masters in London. And there were people that were fighting that Revolutionary War in America that wanted to stop us from paying taxes that went overseas to London and to Europe. It's still going on, folks. It's not ever really stopped. Even though there have been politicians and rhetoric that protests that, even the Protestant Reformation was a protest against the authoritarianism of the Catholic Church. And there has always been Protestant movements against the leaders, or the apparent leaders, of those who, from my perspective anyway, still and always have had a dark agenda. It's been an agenda of control. It's been an agenda of gaining wealth for themselves at the expense of everyone else. I think people are waking up. Is that true? Or are we just following the path of least resistance, paying attention to the mainstream media and the people that still have the same agenda they've always had, control and enslavement of humanity? This is something that we need to not only get our minds around, but we need to get our hearts into it so that we can bridge the gap. We're not going to be free until we learn to love one another. And I don't think we'll ever be free as long as money is the thing that drives everything else. So even the RV, if it were to become a reality and put money into the hands of visionaries, will the visionaries then become the masters? Will they end up becoming just like those that they have protested against? I don't know the answer. I don't put my hope in the RV anymore. I'm reading things that hopefully will show me a way out. The Divine Secret Garden series being one of those. And I talked to a friend this morning after I posted my previous video. And she said, we talked about that 10 years ago. And I knew I had discussed it, but I didn't realize I had lost contact with it until she reminded me. Anyway, folks, I appreciate you listening, and hopefully together we can find a remedy that will liberate us, truly set us free. Namaste.